Adrian is also the collaborator of this webinar. So maybe Kotsani, you can tell us a little bit about the Innovation Center, the Research and Innovation Center that Adrian is trying to build. Actually went to visit before COVID, and it was a pretty cool space for software engineers who are interested and people who are working with automation, digitization, and a couple of other projects. So if that's what you really have in mind, make sure you talk to Adrian.
So, hi everyone. I think I'll start off by introducing Adrian as a business. Adrian is actually a business that's built in the telco, oil and gas space. We invest a lot of our technology support in infrastructure development. So you will see us actually do fiber connections in your homes on behalf of Safaricom. You will see us support oil and gas companies with telecommunication towers. You will see us basically build a whole host of infrastructure solutions that we roll out. A key thing about Adrian to note is that we're a fairly young company. We've sort of been in the market for about 9 to 10 years now. But in the 9 to 10 years, we've spent a lot of time ensuring that we invest in infrastructure and in young people. Adrian is actually an employer of choice. If you are looking to build a technological career, you should consider us. Adrian, in sort of the spirit of Adrian, what we try to do is really transform. Our vision is, transforming Africa by connecting businesses and communities with sustainable technologies. And in that spirit, we've built an innovation space. And this innovation space is actually a platform that allows young people to participate in solving big contextual problems that exist using technology as a resource. So we recently built out a space, and this space is actually designed to attract developers, creatives, people who think about problems and solutions and who would want, support in the execution. We think of the attic as a hub to drive digitization across not only our ecosystem as the Adrian ecosystem, but beyond that. And what we try to do is make sure that young engineers have a seat at the table and can actually share ideas. To provide a little context also, a lot of young people are working on different solutions, and some of the solutions that they are building are either substitutes, in the existing market, which there's always an advantage with bringing in more substitutes into the market. It creates competition and it allows, technology to evolve. But we're trying to create a space where we identify gaps in the larger ecosystem that are not being addressed, where innovation is actually necessary to drive progress. And so a lot of the things that we try to do at the Innovation Center is not replicate, right? But it's actually to look at how we can advance areas where there's underdevelopment, and we're looking for like-minded people who would want to join. We have a core team that works from the attic, and these are a group of our developers. Some of them are actually on this call. Esther, I can see Olao. James is on the call as well, and I think I saw a few other people who are participating. I think Karen is on the call as well. They're part of the team that are there working on technological projects that currently exist. We are looking for more young people who are either looking for a gig opportunity to come in and plug in. We'll present a whole host of problems, and then it creates an opportunity for people to actually not only solve problems that are meaningful, but they also can earn from their contribution. So we will be doing essentially a virtual cycle of projects where people can come in, provide their resume, they go through a vetting process, then from the vetting process, they're assigned a project and they can actually earn from it. And a lot of the work they will do will actually go into notable infrastructure gaps that will by and large improve our business. Just speaking in context with COVID happening globally, digitization is essentially a necessity. Technology is now a utility. You have to think of it like power, like water, like education, like it's things that we cannot do without. And so the ADDIC is just trying to create a platform that then collaborates with as many like minds as possible to actually bring solutions that will then help in digitizing, not only for small businesses, but even for large corporate value chains.
Wow, thank you so much. I will tag his contact or Michelle's contact. If anyone is interested, you can reach out to them. So I'd want to get to the next stage of this webinar. I would want to introduce Caroline. Caroline Muthambiri is a corporate operations engineer at Google. She previously held the position of IT resident at Google's Dublin office and system admin at IPS Kenya Limited. Caroline launched her career in tech when she interned at Lantech Africa, an infrastructure solutions company in Nairobi, where she later held the position of a network engineer. She holds a master's degree in computer science from the University of Hertfordshire with a specialization in distributed systems and networks, and a bachelor's degree in information technology from KCA University. Caroline prides herself as an analytical thinker and a problem solver who enjoys crafting solutions to everyday challenges. She's an avid reader and seeks diverse knowledge and cultural experiences through travel. So welcome, Carol.
Thank you. And I have to give context as why you're laughing. Is because I had to send her, Mercy, a voice note on how to pronounce the university, Hertfordshire. So she had to put emphasis on that. So thank you, Mercy, for reading my bio. And as Mercy mentioned, like I'm currently a corporate operations engineer at Google. I've been at Google for 5 years. Oh my God, 6 years. It's going to 6 years now. Where I worked on 2 different teams, but the teams work on one product, which is supporting the internal Googlers with their IT needs. I worked in IT in Nairobi for a couple of years before I moved to Google. And I would say my career started in Nairobi and in Kenya. I was a systems administrator. So I touched a bit of entrepreneurship, infrastructure, networking, a bit of coding, but now I'm more focused on IT solutions. I do see a couple of people that I went to school with at KCA. I went to KCA University, yes. I spent, I think, 3 years or 4 years there, and I learned a couple of things there. I also studied in the UK last year. I graduated with a master's in computer science. I also picked up a few things there. My tenureship at Google has also taught me a lot, as well as when I was interning in Nairobi as well. So I'm bringing all my experiences together in this webinar to kind of break them down to things that I found important, that it's good to share with other people, and maybe somebody might find something helpful as we speak along. And feel free to put in your questions on the chat, and I will help you. I will answer that at the end or as we go along. And yeah, we'll make it fun. We'll make it interactive. I want you to ask me as many questions. Look at me as as a bottle full of water and you're drinking out of it. So I'm here to share as much as I know, and somehow like sharing knowledge is also caring, and we kind of support each other in all our careers. So I'll leave out to Marcy to kind of guide the webinar. So she will ask me a few questions and we'll go along and I'll try and expound on the topics.
Okay, thank you so much for the brief. So maybe we can start with a career vision board. Why is it important? Why should someone in a tech career be able to map out every 3 years where they want to be?
So the way I look at career in itself, you look at it as a project for yourself, and mapping out a project needs you to plan. And the best way for you to plan is for you to be able to list down what you want to undertake in this project, which is your career. So the moment you pick up that mindset that I am my own project and my career is my project, you become more focused on creating a plan for your project. So a vision board in itself is a way for you to visualize your ideas and where you want to go. When I say a vision board, I am also a person who sometimes will have an idea about what I want, but it's somewhere at the back of my head. I've found that the moment you write down ideas about what you want, it could be as easy as picking up a Word document and just listing down, copy pasting some images, creating a visual of what you want, and somehow the act itself kind of breathes life into the idea about your project, which is your own career. Another tool that is really important about creating a vision board about your career is having something we call a personal development plan. I don't know how many of you have created a personal development plan, but it's create a spreadsheet about what your goals are into your career. What do you want to prioritize depending on what your goal is? Set a deadline as well. Maybe you can say, this will be my personal development plan for my career for 3 years, and within 3 years, these are my goals. I want to acquire this skill. I want to prioritize that skill. And then I will say at the end of maybe these 3 years, this is the overall goal that I want. Then you can also break it down in that 3-year cycle into something smaller. Like, let's say in the next 6 months, I want to acquire a certain skill. I want to have read this kind of books. I want to do this. Then the moment you have everything written down, like I cannot emphasize more about writing down ideas about your career as well as project planning your career. You're able to recognize where you have the opportunities, where you have shortcomings, and how you can develop more skills. Then the whole things come together because you're able to take action. And also, like, if this is my goal and I have this shortcoming, I may need to leverage these people like Adrian. They've said they can help you bring out your skill in a certain area. They're working towards something. So the moment you're able to map these things, you're able to get support from other people who also want that kind of skill. And then at the end of it, like, if you have this kind of a goal, you're able to measure your progress. So the importance here is that the moment you put something down, you're giving life to your idea, and the project of yourself as your career should be one of the goals that you have in life, and you can write it down. So over and above that, I also tell people it's also good to have like a vision board about your life, like also other things over and above career. So you can combine them or separate them, but keep them clear that this is career, this is life, and then just breathe life into what you're planning. Yeah.
That was really, really helpful. Yeah. And what would trigger changes in your career? For example, you started as a network engineer, and now it has really changed to something else. So what are those things that you have learned through the journey? Did you know this is what you wanted to do 5 years ago or 6 years ago? Or was it by chance, or is it as was it that you actually planned out that this is where you actually wanted to be?
Okay, that's a really good question, because it brings back into focus on how I've moved between my different ladders in technology. So I would say I didn't plan it out completely this way, but I went along acquiring skills every so often. Every 3 years, I would get a different kind of skill. To take you back, after I finished a bit of computing classes, I went to this company called Lantec, and I was basically just looking for any internship, and they happened to be doing core on networking. So because that was something that I had learned in school, I kind of picked that up as the main core of the work that was needed, and I improved on my networking skills. So the employer required me to have studied CCNA, CCNP. So these are professional certificates. Some of you may know about them, that help to like have more, like they give your academics more meat, let's say. So I had to take up those skills because those are the skills that my employer wanted for me to perform better in my role. So it grew that afterwards I felt I needed to change. So I felt I've become a little bit stagnant in my job and nothing was moving much. I needed a new job. So when I moved to this new job at IPS Kenya, I had to learn new skills, and these were skills in maintaining servers. So we had a Microsoft server that I had to train myself on how to maintain this server. So these are the things that you probably don't learn in school. You probably will not have academics that teach you how to be a systems administrator in a certain server infrastructure. So you pick up some of these skills because you have to learn them online. So changes in that, if you feel stagnated, you may want to go to a different company. If you go to this company, you find that they want a different skill. So you learn this different skill. After that, I felt I needed a change from the job that I had in IPS Kenya. By the way, I felt like IPS Kenya was one of the places where I had so much freedom to learn new things, because I didn't know how an enterprise server works, how Microsoft Exchange server works. So I learned these new skills because they didn't have those, they didn't have the infrastructure laid out. I was given a chance to implement the infrastructure. So that kind of gave me a skill that made me more marketable to the job that I came into Google with, which was IT, end user support in IT within the Google Enterprise Network. So the trigger itself, if I'm to summarize, is that changes in economy. So probably an employer goes out of business, you might find yourself having to look, it might trigger you to look for another job, or if you get new personal responsibilities, like you could be that you're looking for more money to earn more money. So for example, when I was moving from Lantec, my first initial job, to where I went to IPS Kenya, I really wanted that extra, I think it was like 7,000 Kenya shillings. I really wanted that because I had been eyeing an apartment that was gonna cost 7,000 more. And that triggered me to think I really need a job that can give me more money. So that higher earning, looking for that higher earning was a trigger as well. And I felt also stagnated because I had learned everything that I needed to learn about networking, and they were not diversifying to other things. So my trigger was like, I've learned enough of networking. It's about time I go learn something new, because I knew IT itself is so broad, computing and tech is so broad. So these are the kind of triggers that I would say had me move between different kind of jobs. Yes.
When you talked about network engineering, it reminded me about my journey.
Yeah.
I also interned at an ISP, and it was the first time that there were people being called network engineers. Like my whole degree, I only thought you can only be a network admin or you can be a programmer. Then as I progressed, you actually realize that there's so many specializations, so many titles, so many responsibilities. And yet, and if you're curious enough, you end up learning, what do these people do?
Yeah.
You end up asking yourself, what is it? If you are working with different people, you also ask those people questions, you find out what is it that they do. It really helps because you understand, is it something I would want to do? Is it something I wouldn't want to do? It helps you cross out those things that you think you are good at. So the
Yeah.
other question is, how do you explore tech careers to find what you love?
So this brings us back now exactly to that previous question about, you may find yourself doing something because that's what the employer core business is. Again, it comes to, if you have planned out a PDP, you kind of have listed what is important to you. And I always say, my friends and I always have a discussion about, always define the 3 top things that you're really good at. So the moment you've defined what you're really good at, it becomes easy for you to align yourself to something that you're good at. So for example, if you find that you're a really good programmer, you can do the best Java code that ever existed, you will find, like, if you find a job, or if you will be able to completely target that market itself, and you'll be seeking out jobs that are looking for Java programmers. If you go out of the market just looking for a tech job, it's easier for you to be swayed left, right, center, like I was actually, because I didn't exactly know what I wanted, so I just picked up what my employer was good at. So always be very clear about what you're good at and try consistently improve on what you're good at, and that will help you find something that aligns with what your strengths are.
How do you know what you're good at? How do you reflect on yourself to realize, I'm actually good at this? Because a lot of people do not have the self-awareness to actually realize, I'm good at this.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and it's actually always a struggle of mine, because sometimes I'll give you an example. I will start working on something, and I'm like, if I feel that I can work on this one thing and still get a lot of satisfaction out of it, and I'm not feeling like I'm pulling my hair. Yes, it's challenging, but I don't feel like I need to pull my hair out if I'm doing it. I enjoy doing it again and again. Then that's something you can identify that you're good at. But it doesn't necessarily mean that is what you're working on, if I'm to get it right. So you could be, for example, be good at programming, but maybe your job, whatever you have, is not a programming job. It's probably a customer skills job. Or you could be doing programming, but you're like, I'm pulling my hair out, but I know at the end of the day, the moment I speak to users and help them solve their problems, then you know I'm good with these skills. So if it doesn't make you feel like you want to pull your hair out, and you get a lot of satisfaction when you solve a problem within the skill you have, I guess that's one of the big things I look at when it's looking at something that I'm good at.
Okay. Elizabeth, kindly mute. Okay, so the other question is, how do you get the job you've crafted for yourself? For example, if you are a programmer and you want to move to software engineering, you have built up your skills, you have built up your skills, you think you're ready now to make the shift. So how do you get that job?
I would say there are a couple of aspects when it comes to the job market. I will look at it this way. There is a job where you are employed, there is a job where you actually create the employment yourself, so you're an entrepreneur or you're a startup. I would look at them from both perspectives of, if you're looking for a job that you've crafted for yourself, look at the job market. And I always say, don't limit yourself to just the local market. There are so many jobs out there, so many international companies actually sitting outside of Kenya that are looking for people with our skills. So the job market, whenever you're upping your skill, up your skill for the international job market. Like, you can compete with anybody who is sitting in Europe, who is sitting in America, who is sitting in Lagos, who's sitting in South Africa. Like, your skills can span around any job market. So, and I think when we have that into focus, that our skills can be used everywhere, because tech, for sure, is that one skill that you can take to any part of the world and you're still good at it. You'd be surprised to know that most of the code that is written, even in countries like Germany, they write most of their code in English. That was the most surprising thing that I learned the other day, that we have the language, we have the skill. It applies to a bigger job market sometimes than we think. And also, if you're looking out for the job market, the other way to do is to prep and to know how to sell yourself. And this is a topic by itself that I'm going to talk about at the end of the questions that we have. So if you want to get the job that you've crafted for yourself, look at the job market, both local and international. See yourself as a candidate who's competing with anybody else in the world, and know how to prepare for an interview and how to sell your skills, not just locally, but also internationally. And also, I would say, a positive mindset. Like, I have gotten this before. Sometimes I feel like, oh, can I compete with somebody who went to Stanford or to MIT or to all this? And it kind of gives you an idea that if you have this skill that you have is also being taught in a university in another part of the world, and both of you would be in maybe a technical company, both of you would work at the same place. So positive mindset, look for international and local market, as well as prepare and know how to sell your skills. And how to sell your skills is something I would delve into a few minutes later.
Yeah, maybe also they should prep their LinkedIn account, and also connect with recruiters, because I know so many recruiters who are always looking for people on LinkedIn, but they keep saying that sometimes they don't find the kind of people they are looking for. But it's also because sometimes as techies, we do not update our LinkedIn profile as we should. We want it to be so brief. We just want to get over with it so that we can tell people we are on LinkedIn, but really you're also trying to sell yourself to the opportunities that you're working towards.
Mm-hmm.
Then the other question is, what activities can one engage in or to keep up with current trends without drowning from information overload?
So tech news are everywhere. If you turn the paper, there's tech news. If you turn on your, if you check your social media feed, there's a lot happening. I do say news and current trends, you have to be really deliberate about what you want to consume. So look at news as something you're feeding your project being you, your career. Nourish your career with news that are important. And the way you do this is that don't leave it out for the algorithms on our social media, Twitter, to feed you each and everything that is happening. Deliberately go out and seek out the news. And I don't know how people are old school like me, that they used to have RSS feeds where you could have news delivered to your inbox if you subscribe to an RSS feed. So this kind of has died down a little bit, but it's still out there. Like you can, there are websites like feedly.com where you just go, say, I want to read this and this news from maybe Gizmo News, Tech News. There's even some local Kenyan news that I usually follow. Also even business news on things like Nation and Standard. I saw you could actually customize an RSS feed for this kind of news articles. So I would say the way you seek to read a book, seek also to read your news and to deliberately chase the news that are in tech, so that you're not drowned by things that are just noise, you know. But it's good once in a while, but at least you know the trends because you've looked at maybe Bloomberg, they have tech business news, they have something about what's happening in the world. So keep up with the trends by deliberately looking for news. Another way for current trends without information overload, and my friend mentioned this to me yesterday, is that all the tech companies, all the big tech companies, usually most of the technology that they have a white paper about their product. So a white paper is like a technical explanation of how their technology works. So for example, if you go to google.com and search for Google Cloud, the technology that we have on Google Cloud as a company has, there's a technical paper that is public to everybody to be able to read on how their technology is implemented. So you're actually learning, the moment that you pick these papers and read about how technology was implemented, you're seeking what is the trend, what is making tech move, or what is making tech as it is for now. So those are the two things that pop up into mind when it comes to keeping up with current trends without information overload.
Yeah, I also have a Google alert thing where it sends me different things, and sometimes you can really go through information overload, because sometimes you have this podcast you want to listen, you have these videos you want to watch, you want to read these articles that are in your mailbox, and sometimes it can really be overwhelming. So the other question is about upgrading your skills. How do you determine what to study for and what to settle for? For example, right now, since March, so many people have decided to make their courses free of charge. So maybe you were coveting or you were saving for a particular certification, and now they're in your list, but now there are like 50 of them that have become free. How do you decide? How do you prioritize? How do you say, this is where I want to start? This is where, this is my current need right now.
Okay. You know, when you talked about that, this popped in my mind, like growing up in a local primary school somewhere in Muranga, our headmaster always used to tell us, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So the moment that you get all the news that come to you, all the information that come to you, you're not sure anymore because you didn't have a PDP, you didn't know what your plan was, your development plan on what is important to you. So the moment that you have 50 things appearing in your inbox on, oh, there's this free course on how to improve your Python skills, there's this other free course on how SQL works in this kind of an environment. Everything looks very trendy, it looks very up to date, and yes, it's up to date, it's up to trendy, but is it good for you? If you had not planned on what you want to up on your skill, that's why, again, the vision board, the PDP is really important, because it helps you prioritize what is important and what is not important, and what you can put away for later. So I do say skills upgrade, what to study for. There's so much free resources. I'll mention some of them. There are even some sites that, this is another nice trick I was gonna say, like there are some sites that offer you 2 months free for you to try, like trial period on Learn Anything on our website. Like I usually make use of those websites a lot. I go in, sign up, try a few things, see if I really like a course. Some of those courses will last actually even for only those 2 months, and then you get out of the site. So like there's a way to manipulate exactly what you want, but you have to know what you want because you've already planned for it and you know what your outlook is.
Okay. So the other question is, you said in your bio you are a problem solver.
Yeah.
Why is problem solving important in tech?
So, so this is the context about problem solving. The moment you're employed, or the moment you start up a company, or even think of the person in the market selling a produce, they're trying to provide a solution for a need. So that need is actually a problem that they have identified, then they're trying to solve that problem. So I do see problem solving as a core to each and everything and each and every opportunity that is presented to you. And actually, most of the companies that look for people in tech and itself, they want people who problem solve, because the solutions that we create, most of them in tech, we've identified a need that has come from a certain problem and we need to solve those problems. So acquiring and retaining a problem-solving mindset, you're actually creating a growth mindset. And the way I look at it is, probably this is a challenge for everybody. Every day you sit down or you're walking along, if you see something, try to think of ways of improving it. For example, sometimes I get a can of maybe a jar of something and I try to open it and I'm like, if only these people could have done this and this and this. So this already pops in my mind, like there is a problem. They could have solved it this way. And you find that even when you sit down to work on something, either in tech, whether you're writing code, you're always trying to optimize and solve a problem. So if you don't already have, or if you think your problem solving mindset is not yet there, I would challenge you, like every day, try to think, these files have been created in a certain way. If only they did them this way, then try analyze what could have been done better. So that way, like even when it comes to work itself, you're always seeking out problem solving.
Just to add that, I actually landed into my career where I am at right now because of problem solving. We would have, I was in charge of a unit and we used to have repetitive problems. And so I was curious, I was wondering, why is this the case? So when I started analyzing data that we currently had, next thing I knew, I was on a path that would lead me to where I am. So sometimes when you are curious and you're always asking questions, even when things are really good, even when things are really bad, you find out certain things about maybe work, about yourself, that you end up ingraining as you progress with life and your career. So the next question is about, you talked about passion pet projects at the very beginning.
Yeah.
So what are passion pet projects and how can one settle on one if you have a whole list? I mean, I hear techies saying that they have this whole list, they need to do X, they need to do Y, they're trying to learn Y, they're trying to do Y. So how do you create a list with priority and say, this is what I want to start? Yeah.
So passion pet projects, probably for somebody maybe who's not had this before, is sometimes we are good at something, but we don't get a chance to showcase our talents through our employers, core work. And I look at a passion pet project as a way to showcase your skills outside of your employer's work. So how you come up with a passion pet project and how you prioritize, I see it as people who love to play football. Like they know at the end of the day, whatever they do, whatever they work on, they have their love, they have their passion for football, they will go to the field and play football. So pick something within tech That's my encouragement, and that's how I do it. And I'll show you a couple that I've worked on. Pick something that you're passionate about, and then even though you know your work on it, it's something that relieves you. Like, it's not something that will make you more stressed than you are. So, like, if your employer is stressful, needs to have code submitted at a certain point, this need fixed. But at the end of the day, if you have a passion pet project, which is to create websites, and you go and create a website and it gives you such relief, pick up something that gives you relief, like the same way a person picks up football as a hobby or any other, or design. So look at it as a way of showcasing your skills that you're passionate about outside your employer's work. And why we do passion pet projects is to contribute to the good of the society as well, and as well as yourself. And also, as Mercy said, like, she saw a need and also worked on that need. I'm sure her need of her starting this company started as a project, a side project that turned into a side hustle. So most of the time you find like these passion pet projects actually turn to a side hustle that's actually giving you money. And the moment you actually start working on something that you're really, really passionate about, and at the end of the day, it gives you a lot of satisfaction, and then it becomes your main earner. Like, you find like that's all we are intended to do with our careers, like end to end. You're satisfied with your job, it's giving you money, you can put time into it. So look at passion pet projects as a way to put this. So, and the selection criteria is something that you love, something that's not stressful. A couple of examples that I've seen is that that also work towards your resume. Don't forget that passion pet projects in tech, try and make it that they are also improving your resume if you're still looking for a job. So you could be contributing to a public repository on GitHub, or you could be contributing to a code base like Mozilla. Like, all these people are looking for people to put in their time to help them out. So you're helping out the good. It's adding more to your resume, and at the end of the day, it gives you satisfaction. That's the way I look at it. And eventually, this passion pet project could turn into a side hustle, a main business, and then it ties end to end. So, example of what I'm working on and how they came about. My problem-solving mindset, one day, we were in Buru, and we were thinking, I need to maybe go to a children's home that's nearby. Like, it's a Sunday afternoon, I have nothing to do. I could maybe give a few hours, contribute. But then we looked around, and then we didn't know which children's home to contact. And then I was like, oh my God, I wish if there was a portal where if somebody wanted to contribute to or to give their time to a non-governmental organization, and they looked at within their vicinity, they could find, oh, you know what, somewhere in Eastlands there's this children's home, and then they could go there, like, or they call them, or they help them out. So that was like my problem solving mind coming into focus. And then I actually started working on this project as a pet project because I was passionate about it. And then at that point, I realized that it's very hard to get information about constituencies and wards and counties. Like, I don't know if anybody has a database of all the Kenyan wards, counties, constituencies, and wards, because we wanted to map this to the closest proximity in locality. So it'll be like, in this ward somewhere in Nairobi, there's actually a children's home that somebody can go. There's an old person, like, you can contribute time. Like, we created this portal, but there was no much information. So we started gathering a lot of this content. And then I was like, you know what? If I'm able to gather all the Kenyan constituencies and their wards and counties and put it in a GitHub repo, You never know, a developer out there may want this information, like I was looking at it. So currently, that's my passion pet project. We stopped the one for donating to creating the portal for donation. It ran its own course, but these are the things that I've been trying to work on the side, and they're kind of pet projects. Whenever I get time, like even if it's 10 minutes a week, like it doesn't have to be much, 10 minutes a week, and I'm seated down and I'm like, I could do something. This is what I work on. So that's how I look at passion pet projects.
Maybe we also need to tell them that this session was a pet
project.
And it's good to collaborate. Like if you see someone who's doing something and you feel they might bring value out of what you're trying to achieve, feel free to reach out. I mean, Caroline and I, this is a pet project that we just discussed on Instagram, and here we are.
Yeah.
So whatever you have in mind as a pet project, just start it. You never know where that road will lead you to. Yeah. Cool. The next question is about visibility. We kept saying about visibility. So why is personal branding as a techie and visibility important? And how can one sell their skills? I see Evelyn had mentioned here that prepping and selling yourself is very important. You can even check out upwork.com for tech opportunities. But from your aspect as well, what do you think about branding and visibility?
Cool. So I would say this as a passion pet project, having this webinar and sharing the skills that I have was brought about by this need that I saw on how we brand ourselves. And why I say we brand ourselves is because I went through the Kenyan education system. I went through our way of looking for a job in Kenya, what's expected of you, how the resume is. I probably have not been in the Kenyan job market in the last 5 years, but I've seen how people brand themselves internationally, and I could see a gap. And I thought to myself, let me bring this up as one of the core skills when it comes to selling yourself. So I will give an analogy here. Say if you go to the market and you choose, you normally choose the best, ripest tomato that is well displayed, that looks very healthy, that is well really taken care of. Are you doing the same way? Are you selling yourself the same way that you would expect to pick the best in a market? So all this comes down to creating a version of you in your career that is much, much better, that can sell internationally, and that can be picked. All about the other tomatoes, can you be picked among everybody? So the shortcomings that I've had before myself, that I've seen, is how to sell your skill, and specifically using a data-driven approach method. So sometimes I've seen some resumes where somebody would say, I have this skill. I'm good in Java. I have customer service skills. I worked on this company where I did customer skills. I did front-end support. Also, I wrote some scripting code. So that's a good standard resume. That's a standard resume. Let me not call it good. But if you want to catch yourself above everybody else, use a data-driven approach whenever you're selling your skills on your resume. So I want everybody who's on this call, who's probably struggling with a skill, how to sell themselves, or they're not sure how to do it, look at your resume. And I'll give you a good example. For example, I'm Caroline, I'm just an example. I have this skill and I code in Java. And I want to sell this skill. The moment I go to my resume and write, I'm good in Java, and I worked for Happy Cow Incorporated from year to 2016 to 2019. And then somebody else, let me say, for example, Mercy comes and says, I have this skill, I'm good in Java. And when I was working in the company called Happy Cow Incorporated, I was a part of the team that developed a tool called Milk Plus Plus. The tool was able to predict the feed the cows needed to produce milk at 100%, increasing the revenue for the company for 20% in the year 2016. So the moment you compare those two resumes, you can see who is already giving more information. The fact that they factored in how their skill correlated to a company's increase in revenue because of their kind of contribution, it already shows that this is a person who knows how to sell their skill and can tell you, my skill can make your company increase their revenue, or I can complete 10 bugs in the code that were causing issues with customers, and then we increased our customers a customer's database by probably 10, 20. So the difference between these two is that if you target to sell yourself on a data-driven approach, you're already telling the company, I care about what I bring onto the table with the skills that I have. So this is number one important on how to brand yourself and to increase your visibility. Number two is how you write your resume and in terms of the job that you're applying for. So if every job that you apply for, look at it as not just a blanket resume that you sell to them. Every job usually has the requirements, minimum requirements, what skills they need. Always customize your skill for each and every job. I know sometimes it's easy just to send resume, but it doesn't exactly tell the company how your skill applies to or correlates with what they're looking for. And then research the role that you're looking for. Like, what kind of people work in that kind of role? Sometimes I even do LinkedIn stalking. Like, I would look at somebody's who work at this company, and then I look at their LinkedIn, or you search the company in LinkedIn and then check the person who works there, see what kind of people, what kind of skills, like research about the role, research, and then check, align, and also don't be afraid to contact people. Like, what can happen? People would say no, they won't talk to you, or they will not come back to you. But reach out. Like, people are really open to like listening in, helping out. Like, we see the good in each and every person, and that's one of the things. So don't be afraid to reach out. Even to me, like, I'm very open to talking to people. And
okay.
Yeah, and one more thing is, like, when you're at an interview itself, the way you sell yourself. Now you've gotten the job. Now you've sold your resume. You've written a good CV, and then you've gone to the interview. Or maybe you're also an entrepreneur and you want to pitch to a client. The most important thing is to put yourself out there. Make your opinion heard. Like, don't copy paste what skills that they need. Give an opinion about examples, about exactly like what can you bring onto the table. Like, bring out your personality, and also have a story that reflects what skills they are looking for. I think personality really sells, in that you're showing confidence that you guys are the ones that need me. I have really good things to bring on the table. Always have that personality, and that sells.
Maybe just to add, like, when I was starting out, I reached out to so many people, and I was very offended when sometimes they were not responding. So later on, I learned that as you look for people to talk to help you out, please understand that there are people with boundaries. So there are people who would help, there are people who will tell you no, there are people who will go underground. It does not invalidate your request.
Mm-hmm.
So do not request only one person. Request out of 10 people, out of 100 people, request like 20. Out of 20, maybe one will be the one who will actually help you. But if you set your mind, this is the only person who can really help you, sometimes they're not in a place to be able to help. Or maybe wherever you are, they're not able to meet you halfway. So be open-minded about asking. And utilize social media. Like I say, utilize social media to your own benefit. Look for people who you can connect with on LinkedIn, on Instagram. Don't use your profile for granted, because it has become like a global village. So even if you are a developer, make sure GitHub is your place. You are in relevant WhatsApp groups, because sometimes I see people asking for help in WhatsApp groups in tech, and they actually get the help that they're looking for from people they actually don't know. So make sure you do you be open-minded. Just be open-minded as you ask for help. Then now we can tackle questions. I'll start with the one that has just been posted right now. To Caroline and Mercy, if you could start your career over again, what would you do differently?
I would say for me, I would have been more bolder. Like I would have done more things, because I felt I I spent a bit of my time focused on one thing, which was networking. But tech is so much open. There's so much channels to take through. I should have checked out being a developer, being anything else other than focusing on one, which was networking, maybe a systems admin. If I was to change, I would say I would have been more bolder. But I am also grateful that that journey brought me where I am today, because it's still a learning process. Like I still have a lot to learn. Yeah.
I think for me, if I knew I would end up owning a business, I will not take it for granted how organizations work. I think I would have asked more questions to people in finance. I would have asked more questions to people in marketing to find out how do we support them, to have that conversation, because I really struggled at the very beginning, because you think like a techie, but the operations work totally different. You think you're bringing value, but sometimes you're not able to translate that value to the terms these people like to hear. Because if you are selling anything, even your own passion pet projects, please remember most people, either it's about revenue, how does that affect their revenue, meaning it has to grow their revenue, or it cuts their costs, so increasing their efficiency. So even if you're talking about a tech thing, you need to translate this to a way that they can be able to understand, because not everyone is tech savvy. So if I was to do something different, it will be to interact and not take it for granted that at one point I worked for a large organization that had too many arms, and there was a lot of free flow of information. So that would be one of the things. So the Purity says she loves the idea of the Passion Pet project. Nancy Nyawera asks, if you are trying to change careers in tech, let's say you want to get into cybersecurity, you polish your skills on cybersecurity, but when applying for jobs, they require a few years' experience in this field. What would you do in such a situation?
So Nancy, I would say this is where the way I look at it, I know that comes in a lot, especially where they ask you for years of experience. If you're able to work on something that does not necessarily require an employer, so like a passion pet project itself could even be you sharing your skill or selling your skill on Freelancer. Like if you're good with cybersecurity, you can write a paper, you can do all this. The way you sell it, you go maybe to freelancer.com and see somebody, if somebody wants that skill, and you sell that skill to somebody. Or if you start something small as a passion pet project, that's also experience that you're gaining. So unless the employer really wants to see you having worked with a certain employer, that's where it would be a little bit different. But I think sometimes just presenting your skill in a certain way, depending on where you put your skill across, could sell as well. Maybe Mercy, you have a different idea.
Yeah, mine would be, sometimes I say, if you want to gain experience, ask those people you're targeting. Like if you, like right now, since COVID started, there's so many incidences of cybersecurity issues. To gain experience means you look for an organization that you think, especially small and medium-sized organizations, tell them that you have seen this vulnerability. Can I be able to do X, Y, Z for you? By the time you realize you have even turned that person into a client, and in the end, you'll have an experience, the kind of experience that you're looking out for. Because sometimes employers are also looking for someone who can solve a particular problem, that you can actually look for these loopholes and seal for them. Because if experience is always key, like for us, what I've learned when I was hiring for my team is that sometimes people have good papers, but they are not able to translate some of the core things. And I ended up taking up people who they only had a degree, but they had done so much. Even when they came for the interview, someone will even come with a pitch. They'll be able to tell you, I saw this gap here, and I would want to be able to bring value so that I can be able to ensure that this gap no longer exists. You see, this is someone who changes even the way you recruit. So I would say look for those people, organizations that are around you. What value can you add? And in exchange, you get experience. And it can be a pet project. It doesn't have to be something that you do full time. So make sure it's something that you can do within a short period of time and you can add in reference. Like if you have an organization, I saw Naomi posting about an organization since she owns a tech firm. What I've seen work sometimes, it's when you're selling something, people ask if you can do like a pivot. Can you do this for maybe a month? And then after that, we can start billing you. It's the same thing. So even your skills, it helps you gain experience. And then for them, they can be able to give you a recommendation out of it. And then there was another question from Naomi Karaoke. She says I think she's the owner of Cacti Business Group. We manage IT managed services to SMEs, such as networking, service support in offices. How can we evolve and survive during this COVID time? Clients have become more independent in troubleshooting and now are working from home. So we are losing during this time.
Hi, Naomi. So I think this one needs a bit of being versatile a little bit, like learning what these customers need more. I don't know how to put it in a way that tech is the only thing that keeps changing on and on. Like every year there's something new, something will change. And I guess versatility itself in tech is, and also in business, is one thing we could look at. I would say leveraging exactly what you think the problems are at home, and also like if you yourself are working at home and you see that there's something that is nagging you, there's something that is not working well. For example, these people who are working at home, probably they've been using their computer, a small screen for the last, I don't know, 2 months. They are now tired, like bundling up for them, a monitor at a cheap price, like giving them the solutions that they need at that point. I guess this is the way I'm talking about versatility. Like if you look at it from a problem solving perspective, if it's nagging you, it's probably nagging somebody else. So changing over to exactly what customers want. That's what I have in mind.
I would also want to say that networks are being disrupted in such a way that organizations are working from home, but they also have infrastructure within their organization. But some of them are struggling with maintaining some people at home and some people working from the office. So it stops being some of the basic things and you end up now doing some of the things like configurations. Now you end up providing services as a means since you already have the expertise. So you would ask what are your current network struggles and also plug into Kenog, plug into other groups that are now network focused so that you can understand how people are aligning, how are people making sure that even as people work from home or even as organizations are learning how to troubleshoot, what other value can you be able to provide for them now? Because now I'm seeing people working from home, but they're still getting hacked. I mean, you are connecting to your organization, but there's no VPN, no nothing. So those are some of the challenges. So how can you be able to meet them where they are? This is the situation now. What values can you be able to embed at the very top of what they're currently doing? So the other thing is, Janet asked, what are some of the skills upgrade sites? I've seen you said Skillshare, Coursera. Also, there's Udemy,
Yeah.
Udacity. There is, what is that? There's so many. There's ed something, edtech or something, edtech, I think. Also, universities, global universities offer free courses, so like MIT, Harvard,
Yeah.
they also offer courses. So you can be able to check out depending on your specialization. If you are in networks and you're starting out, ISOC offers free courses online. If you are in data science, I believe you can get specified courses like Udacity, Udemy, and Data Camp as well. If you are in cybersecurity, I'm not so certain, but I've seen so many of them all over the place. I also know Cisco, Huawei, and IBM, and I think it was VMware. They're also offering free courses during this period. So there is a lot of information overload if you're looking for, but be specific on the kind of skills that you'll be keen on. That way you do not get bombarded.
Yeah.
So the other question was, what's your take on the future of technology careers? Examples of tech that may be in demand.
Before I get there, I see the question that Naomi had, Caroline Nganga has answered. So Caroline and I work at Google. So she's also answered one of the questions that if to Naomi, that so also you could also do a survey of your clients just to see what issues they are having. They could also give you ideas of problem to solve. So that was an answer to Naomi. Sorry, what was the question, Mercy?
So, yeah, what's your take on the future of technology?
Okay, by Arthur, yeah, Obel.
Yeah.
I would say a lot of work is going to cloud. And I see this happening because, as you've seen, COVID has brought in a new norm where we have to work from home, where we have to bring our services online and uptime throughout, where we sometimes do not have money to invest on infrastructure. So we have to rely on infrastructure by other companies. I would say the future of technology careers is something that will be in security, it will be cloud-based, it will be in virtualized environment, and that's my take. That's my thinking. That's my take. And as I said before, like sometimes you can see the leaders, like you can go to, I would say like Google Cloud, check AWS. These are the people who are leading, and also Azure from Microsoft. They are leading with their cloud technology, and they have released a lot of white papers on how they're creating these kind of technologies. So if you're able to read some of their white papers, you might realize that you probably have a skill to implement something. And because they're selling some of these products in large scale, there's also the market for SMEs and one-person usage. So just doing a breadcrumb kind of overview, like big companies are doing this. They're selling to big-sized companies who are hosting all their services on the cloud. Small and medium enterprises also want these services. How can we use these services as well? I, as a person, want this service. I want to be able to have my documents in the cloud, my database in the cloud. I do small site websites. I want to be able to quickly access everything. So learning about how these technologies work, and then looking at the skills that you may lack and also may want to improve on is, I would say, a step towards like future careers in tech.
I agree. So Diana asks, careers that are looking to transition from MBA to a full tech career, what path would you recommend?
Again, I would look at what do you love and what are you good at. I always ask that question because sometimes we may pick up a career because that's what is selling in the market at that point. But are we able to bring our 100% to it? So I would say look at where your interests are. Are you interested in building, being a developer, building apps? Do you like to build solutions? Are you a problem solver? Do you love design and websites? Pick a passion, pick something you're interested in. Do you love security, networks? And then use that as a way to upgrade that skill, because if you have that, you already have your MBA. You can learn more about a skill that you're passionate about from some of these websites like Stanford. They have all the ones that were listed. Stanford, they have a few programs, edX, Coursera, and all that. So I would say transitioning is more about what you're passionate about and where you want to put your love for tech into.
Yeah, I would also say maybe also ask as many questions to people who work in tech so that you understand. It's easy to cross out areas than it is to tick out areas. So you'll find there's certain areas you don't like, they don't appease you. So you end up being curious by a particular subject, which in the end you'll find sometimes it could be your path, sometimes you're just curious, but you're not really into it. So Nancy asks that you spill the beans. How did you get a job at Google?
So just to take you back a little bit, when I was at KCA University, I won a scholarship by Google, and this is for EMEA. It's called Anita Borg Scholarship for Women in Tech. And this kind of launched me into a different view about technology and life and women in tech. And the scholarship itself allowed me to study in KCA, like money free, like they paid for everything for all my education at KCA. When I finished my undergrad in KCA, I went on a scholarship, and this is another, I went on a conference. This is another tip I want to give. If anybody is a student here, always look out for scholarships as well as conference scholarship for students in tech. Like I tell you, like the many companies that are willing to sponsor you to attend a conference are immense. So I happened to attend one of the most famous conference for women in technology. It's called Grace Hopper Conference. And it was in the US, in Minneapolis. And when I was there, I found that Google and other tech companies, like 100 tech companies, were recruiting people there. So I handed in my resume, and they were like, "Oh, do you want an interview?" So I actually interviewed for Google inside a conference within a day. And then I got a job that way. So that's how I got a job at Google.
Just to add, Anita Borg has a Nairobi chapter.
Yeah.
So if you do not know that, then really you need to start making sure that you converse with them. I think they really work a lot with Akili. I've forgotten the name, but I can put it out in the list down here. And also, they have a session, I think, next week or the other week. Last year, they held the Grace Hopper Conference in collaboration to the Nairobi's chapter. And I remember there was a lady, I think she's the one who leads Grace Hopper, who came to the conference, the 2-day conference that was being held here. So if you don't know that, please make sure you find out more about it. And also you can ask And when you're asking, ask what value can you add? They're always looking for people to help build communities and whatnot. That's how you get your foot inside the door. So Nancy says, what's your take on a career in data science?
I think I'll leave that to you. You're the one in data science, is it?
Yeah. So I think it's a good career, but the other thing is that sometimes we ride on hype. And I always say, if you think about hype, think about all the events, all the clubs that people like going to, and after maybe 2 3 years, people have moved on. So sometimes I feel like most people come into data science because it's a hype. You're told it's the most needed skill, or it's what is trending, so you want to get into it. I always say you have to go back to ask yourself, are you a problem solver? Because data science is always, its bottom line is about using tech to solve problems. If you're not a problem solver, ask yourself, how do you gain those skills that can be able to help you solve problems? And then you don't have to be technical to be in data science. There are people who are researchers, there are people who are strategists. There's so many career paths within data science. But having a basic core understanding of how it works, methodologies and frameworks really gives you a guideline into a plethora of careers that are into it. So is it worth? It is definitely worth it. It is what Botlab has been built upon. We are a data science firm, but at the same time, in the Kenyan market, this is something that most people are trying to warm up to. Yet we are consumers. When you think about some of the money lending apps, they are purely based on data. When you think about some of the products that are coming out, most of them are purely based on data, advertising and whatnot. So it's about asking yourself, what industry would you want to be in? What um, what really intrigues you? Because my best friend is in health informatics. She's finishing her PhD in health informatics. Whatever they do on that side is totally different from someone who is in banking. But the bottom line is problem solving using tech methodology. So you have to really ask yourself, where are you grounded? Where are you grounded? What really makes your soul happy? Don't do it because it's marketable or it's the trend, because I can guarantee you'll fall out. But you have to look for something within that particular realm that makes you happy. So the other question is, could you talk about the importance of soft skills for a tech career and how to gain them?
Okay, I see Caro also contributed to machine learning. I forgot about that. So machine learning and AI is one of those things that's moving and accelerating so fast that we are building all our systems based on these two technologies, which is where most of our problems are gonna get solved on. So this is like, if you've not delved deep into machine learning and AI, I would encourage you to read a few papers on that. But this is like the depth of technology as it is, because at the end of the day, we are trying to improve all our experiences with tech, and we cannot do this feeding it one at a time. So we need to develop algorithms and the way of that our machines can learn and intuitively solve our problems, as also make predictions. So machine learning and AI, I think that's what who had asked, other Obel. So yeah, machine learning and AI is also what's feeding on cloud, as I had talked about. So that's also something to look at. So there was the question of soft skills. So usually when it comes to your career and the way you retain or the way you acquire soft skills is, and also work on these soft skills when looking for employment, because employers really look for these skills. And when I talk about soft skills, is usually like communication. How do you work within a team? Are you flexible? Are you able to problem solve? Was one of the soft skills I talked about, as well as negotiate. And knowing exactly what you need to learn to be able to bring on the table and work with other people is one of the things that the people in tech look for. So look at it as train yourself or work towards you being a good communicator. You can self-motivate, you can problem solve, you can work as a team, and this is one of the most important things. There's also being able to work under pressure and time management, and also being a negotiation and conflict resolution. A big tip, most of the tech companies will ask you a question, a tech question that is trying to bring out your soft skills. So always look out at making sure that you're able to improve these skills every so often. And also, another thing, probably this is something that happens when you're working as part of a team, knowing how to give and receive feedback within your team. The fact that sometimes we may hear that we are not doing so well, we kind of may think we are failing at what we are meant to do. But knowing that whenever you're given feedback, whether positive or negative, is actually helping you improve on a skill. I also call feedback actually as a soft skill. I consider it as a soft skill because sometimes somebody gives you a negative feedback, but you take it personally like they're attacking me, or you're not able to give somebody constructive feedback. And the way I say constructive feedback is if you tell somebody they are failing at something, are you able to tell them if it was done this way, it could have helped this part, other than saying you're not doing good? So always seek out to give feedback, and I consider that as a soft skill as well. Unless Carol wanted to add something. Okay, now, so Nancy?
We have 5 minutes to go, so maybe we can answer Elizabeth's question and then we can wrap up. So Elizabeth says she's a student. How can she access such opportunities? And how did you get there? Because she's taking mathematics and computer science and she's yet to choose a major. Any advice?
Elizabeth, okay, so this is a good question, especially for people who are students. I am passionate about students because I was a student just recently. I have a lot of, I will talk about the ones that I worked with before. Follow student blogs. Follow, like Google has a student blog that usually puts up what they're doing with students, what they're working on, probably opportunities for students. There's also the part that most of these tech companies they go to tap to students because they know that's where a lot of skills are, and they can also help, like, you know, hone the students to something. There's always opportunities to get conference scholarships to meet other students. So as a student, this is what I'd advise. Follow student blogs, whichever you can find. I think Facebook has some, Google has some. These are the tech companies that come into mind. Microsoft also, I think they have a lot of student materials. And then look out for student packs. Like, did you know actually that most of the companies offer subsidized access to their products as long as you have a student email address? Like, you find like somebody like Microsoft, they will give you access to their products because you just have a student address with ac.ke. So use the resources as much as you can, and the moment you follow other students, connect with other students, like, and also find your passion in what you like, as well as read more in the trends, you kind of figure it out slowly. And also don't be too hard on yourself if you cannot make a decision. I see, because you said you're trying to get a major between computer science and the mathematics and computer science. Don't be too hard on yourself. Do something, look at other people, what they're doing. what's happening in the market, seek out opportunities that are specifically for students, and then at the end of the day, by the time I think you're in your second year or that year, you'll be able to choose a major and then work towards where you feel you're more comfortable in.
Okay. Thank you. As we close, you can maybe, I can ask the last question. A lot of people have been laid off, or they've been asked to go on unpaid leave. What tips can you give those exploring the job market?
So if you've been laid off and you have a bit of time, we've listed a couple of skill sites that you can use as free resources to up your skills. And as I said, use this trial period kind of session that they give you, where you can be like, 2 months, I'm gonna go in and try out a skill, and you actually learn something where you're not even paying for it. Then if you have a skill and you don't have a job, I mentioned a place like freelancer.com. Sign up to freelancer.com, and it's free to sign up. And people are actually really looking for developers there. They are looking for people with a certain skill to write. I think that somebody also mentioned AppShare. Like, try to sell your skill proactively to sites and to people who are looking for your skill. And also look out for networking events. There are all those things that Mercy mentioned, like the Untitled chapter is in Nairobi. There's also Adrian is also looking for people to help with develop some of their products, and they're looking for developers. And also put the word out there. As Mercy said, don't be afraid to reach out to people, even if it's on LinkedIn. Actually, yeah, make sure your LinkedIn profile is up to date, and also be active on LinkedIn. Follow people, reach out to people, read articles, like show that you're really active on the portal itself. The people will be looking out for this, and then put up the word out there that you're looking for a job, and you never know who is actually looking for you. So there's no shame in saying, I do not have a job, I've been laid off, COVID came. All of us, we've been in this where some of us are afraid will our jobs even be there for the time to come. Like, put yourself out there, and there's no shame in being vulnerable. That's all I can say.
Thank you so much, Caroline. I can see the chats also, a couple of people have added on.
Yeah.
Make sure, if you are a participant, please make sure you can read through. Also, Caroline says that you can also contact her if you want to chat more. Maybe, Caroline, you can also put in your LinkedIn profile, so that they can reach out to you.
Actually, I'm even putting my email. You can look it out there. c@muthambiri.xyz. So you can reach me out on that one.
Okay.
And I think also Brian contributed a little bit. Brian and I went to KCA together, and he works at Salesforce, and we are always on chat back and forth, and we try to help especially young people. And he's like, if you've not heard of Salesforce CRM, kindly look it up. We have a project of 20 million jobs on this platform globally. Caroline Nganga, we work together at Google. She's in Dublin. She's also put out her email, caroline@carolnganga.com. Reach out to her. She's one of those people, my really good friends, who we are always bouncing ideas off each other. We are very open. We are very open. So. And also, Purity said, for students, you can also volunteer during holidays to understand the job market. Can I also say that if you're a student, Google is always looking for interns. And even if you're a student in Kenya, you can come and intern at Google anywhere in the world. That's one of the opportunities that is out there. So apply for those internships. Go to careers.google.com and look for a job there. Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
To answer you, Terry, yes, you can. You can still get a job. I know so many people who I schooled with, and they completed their IT degree as they worked. So if you're really good, at what you do, you can easily get a job even though you're a student. Being a student does not mean that you cannot be unemployed.
Yeah.
You cannot be employed. Being underage, though, if you are below 18, then it can become difficult. But other than that, anyone can employ you as long as you're really good at what you do.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for everyone who's tuned in. We are sorry we took up more time than should by 3 minutes. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this course was informative. Feel free to follow us on social media. That's Botlab. We are on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. No, we are not on TikTok. So feel free to reach out. We have other events coming up. So I hope this was informative, and I hope to see more changes. Follow us on LinkedIn and let us know when you post so that we can see your progress.
Yeah.
Thank you. Goodbye. Have a good day.